Hello and welcome to the Analog Leftie. My name is Elise. Today's video will be about my experience attending my first Pelikan Hub. I am filming this a couple of weeks after because I've been quite busy and I'm also prepping for another trip. But yeah, the clocks have turned back, it's dark by 4 p.m. and we finally got our first snowfall yesterday. We were doing so well going past Halloween without snow, but it looks like winter is well underway. But I digress. Let's chat about Pelikan Hubs. So I first heard about Pelikan Hubs when I was super new to fountain pens. I think I was looking for a beginner-friendly fountain pen ink in Seduta art, and I couldn't exactly remember how we got to that point in the conversation, but the shop owner told me that the Pelikan Hubs were a great place to explore inks because there's usually an ink swap table, so I kept that info in my pocket. Fast forward to this year and me having a bit more experience with fountain pens, Pelikan announced the dates for the 2025 Pelikan Hubs. I looked into it a bit more and learned that it's basically an event where people meet up and celebrate their shared love for fountain pens, inks, and stationery. I thought it would be fun to meet people in my city and nerd about these things together. So I signed up even if I was going alone and I didn't know anyone. Closer to the date, I got an email from our hub master about the details of our Winnipeg hub. Her name seemed really familiar, so I looked her up, and it turned out that we've met briefly before at the Dalnavert Museum open house. She's a known local artist, and she had a booth at the marketplace there. And I asked her stuff about photography because she's a prolific film photographer. So knowing that I at least knew someone at the event was very comforting. While the Pelikan Hubs is a global event, it's organized locally in every city. The Winnipeg Hub was held at the Transcona East End Community Center, and we only had to pitch in $5 to get the room and some refreshments. Upon arrival, we registered, got our box of Pelikan goodies, and I put my ink samples to share on the ink swap table. So this is the box of goodies that we got from Pelikan. It looks like it's gone through some difficulties with shipping, but the contents inside were safe. Now let's unbox the magic. So let's open this up, and inside we have this postcard with this year's hub date. At the back it says, "A space for inky memories and creative moments. Sketch, write, watch, or simply remember those who shared this evening with you." Unfortunately, I didn't do any of this, but it's a great keepsake for the event nonetheless. And then we also got this cool notepad with a good number of pages, and it should be fountain pen friendly. And lastly, we finally got the ink of the year, Pelikan Edelstein Apricot Achat. So let's look at what's inside the box. Okay, it actually has some protective foam around it, which I appreciate. Now let's put this aside for now. And this is how the ink looks. According to Pelikan, this ink is inspired by the apricot agate gemstone, which has delicate orange tones and embodies elegance and energy. To be honest, I wouldn't normally go for this color, but I'm just happy to have it in my collection now. From the ink swap table, I got an almost full bottle of Pannonia Orgona, which looks like a crazy shading ink. Apparently, this brand is from Hungary. And then I also got a bottle, almost empty, of Troublemaker Ink's Nanita. It's a crazy sheening ink, and I found out that this is from the Philippines because I recognize those characters. They are Baybayin, which is the ancient Filipino alphabet or language. So that's pretty cool that we have a Filipino fountain pen ink brand. And lastly, I got a couple of samples of Robert Oster inks. This one is Day to Night, and this is Coffee Monster. And apparently, these ones were made in collaboration with Coffee Monster's Co. And also, Robert Oster is from Australia. So, with Pelikan ink from Germany, we got a nice set of inks from all over the world. Unfortunately, I didn't take a lot of pictures or videos of that night. I'm not the best vlogger and I get really shy in smaller crowds, especially when people are aware of what I'm doing. I just don't like inconveniencing others or potentially making them feel like I'm invading their privacy. So I'll do a voiceover to talk about the night while I play with these inks. I really enjoyed meeting my local fountain pen community. As an introvert, having shared interests was a helpful way to make conversations. I was actually one of the first people to arrive at the venue, together with some women who I found out to be members of the Winnipeg Pen and Planner community. That was hard to say without messing up. Anyway, one of them had actually reached out to me in the past to invite me at one of their meetups, but I couldn't go unfortunately because I was sick at the time. So it was nice that I finally got to meet some of them in person. Possibly one of the coolest things that has ever happened to me ever was finally getting to meet Dan. He is the Fountain Pen Scriptorium here on YouTube, and he's one of my subscribers. Wow, what a crazy phrase to say. And he's been a huge supporter of my channel. We've been chatting in the comments and over email, and I knew he was coming, but we didn't really know how each other looked like, so I wasn't sure how I was gonna find him because I also never showed my face in the channel before. But I guess he saw me writing with my left hand from afar, so he came up to me, asked if I was Celise, and that's how we ended up finding each other. Dan was very kind and was super cool. He was so generous in letting me try all of the pens that he took with him. Among the many others that he brought, he showed me the Esterbrook ST that he got from his trip to Montreal, which we had talked about, and a custom fountain pen that he got from the Philippines from Pens by Cal. I was so lucky and thankful that he told me about Pens by Cal because I would definitely love to have a pen from the Philippines, being Filipino myself. And now I was able to try writing with it, so I knew that it's something that I would have to love in my collection. Thanks, Dan. You are the best. And it's so cool to meet a subscriber. It's a crazy experience. Another cool interaction was with this guy named Nolan. So I was trying to chat with people from other tables, and I noticed that he had a beautiful traditional tattoo, so I complimented him on it. And that's how I found out that he's Filipino, and his family originated from Buscalan, where the legendary Apo Wanghod hailed from. And if you don't know who she is, she's probably the most famous mambabatok, or a tattoo artist that uses a traditional form of stick and poke technique. So getting tattooed by her would just be an amazing experience of a lifetime. But anyways, back to fountain pens. Nolan had an amazing collection of fancy fountain pens like Mont Blancs, all the Pelikans, Leonardos, and he was super generous with letting me try them out because honestly, I don't know when else would I ever be able to write with these pens. He also does a lot of tinkering, and one of the pens that he showed us was a fountain pen, but it had a glass nib, which he made from glass rods that were supposed to be disposed from the lab that he works at. So he made this by hand with different versions, trial and error, and it was just super cool. Those were probably the main highlights of the night for me. We also had a giveaway segment sponsored by 26 Market, Seduta Art, and Stilo.ca, but I didn't win any of the prizes, so we can probably skip that. Congratulations to the winners, and I guess we can take a look at the inks that I played with. To swatch the inks, I used my Sailor Hokoro dip pen with a Fude nib, and that is a nib with a bent tip, and it's like this so it can emulate how a brush pen or a paintbrush would write. I like it because you can get varying line widths depending on the angle of how you hold the pen. So at a lower angle, you would have the bent tip at its broadest side, so you'll get broader lines, and at a higher angle, you can write with finer lines. I brought this with me at the Pelikan Hub, but I forgot to bring a pot of water to clean it with, so I'll keep that in mind for next year. I'm not sure if you noticed, but I was holding the pen in a weird way like this, and that is so I can get the proper brush writing effect as how a right-handed person would achieve holding this pen. On the paper from the Pelikan notepad that they provided, it held up really well to the inks, even with the broad strokes. As you can see, there's no bleeding at all, but you'll notice that there is some warping. It actually feels kind of similar to the paper of my Strathmore marker pad that I sometimes use to mess around with inks. It has the same coated feeling, only the marker pad is thicker. But yeah, this is me practicing how to use the Fude dip pen, just messing around. And then this is with the Tombow Fudenosuke brush pen, I think. Yeah, and my Sakura Pigma brush pen. Yeah. And this is me just playing with inks and swatching different colors. But yeah, so it's not as thick as the Strathmore marker pad, but it held up to the inks really well. Taking a look at the inks, so first, the Pelikan Apricot Achat. It's very peachy and surprisingly pigmented for such a bright color. I did not expect that to come from an ink bottle that looks like this. But yeah, it's a very straightforward ink, not a lot of shading. And it's not something I would go for normally, but I won't really complain. I basically got a full bottle for free. And then next we have here the Pannonia Orgona. It's an absolutely stunning ink. The camera is not doing justice on how beautiful this ink is. I actually just looked up what Orgona means in Hungarian, and it is the lilac flower. So it kind of makes sense now that it's a dual shading ink of pinks and purples and blues. It's absolutely beautiful. Then we have the Robert Oster inks, and I really like them. I always like a good shading ink. The Coffee Monster one is a warmer brown compared to, say, a Pilot Iroshizuku Yamaguri, which has cooler purple tones. And the Day to Night is more on the plum side and is actually a nice pairing to my Lamy Safari fountain pen that I still have to make a video about. But yeah, I really like these inks. And then we have the Troublemaker inks Nenita, which is a crazy sheener. If I shine light on it, you'll see the intense green from the red wine burgundy color. This is my first shading or sheening ink, and actually the name Troublemaker is kind of apt because when I was decanting the ink from this bottle to a smaller container, it made some splashes and it just stained everything and is so hard to get out. But yeah, it's a beautiful ink, but crazy with the staining and hard to get out. And that was my experience and haul from the Winnipeg Pelikan Hub. For basically a free event, I got to meet fellow pen and stationery nerds who I learned so much from. I got some cool stuff to explore and expand my collection, and I got to test out a wide variety of pens with all sorts of mechanisms. I am definitely looking forward to going again next year, and definitely would recommend it to you if you haven't been to one. And if you made it to the end of this video, I appreciate your time and you for being here. Thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.